we're gonna start working our way back to the holster now. And the next step, in my opinion, is working from what I call the ready position, or a presentation of the gun from the ready position. Now, the ready position is something that can vary dramatically depending on your line of work, your environment, all that other kind of stuff. So the purpose of this is not to argue about ready position. For the purposes of this discussion, the ready position is right where our hands come together during the draw stroke. So whether you're drawing from appendix, you're drawing from wherever, right where your hands come together, that's what we're going to talk about as our ready position. Once we have two hands on the gun, or start to get two hands on our gun, that's where we're presenting from to discuss this portion of the class. Now the thing here is we've got to do three things. We have to move the gun, we have to aim the gun, and we have to press the trigger. All right. Typically they're done as three separate events, meaning I move the gun really quickly, I find the sight, and then I press the trigger. All right. What we're going to try to do here is compress or combine those events, meaning I want to physically aim the gun, I want to kinesthetically feel the alignment of the gun as I'm driving it out. I want to try to get the gun up in front of my face sooner. I want to start seeing the gun come into alignment, mean visually see the slide, my hands, all of those types of things, and then ideally pick up the sights at the end of the presentation, whether it be iron sights or the dot, clean that up so that I'm ready to break that shot as soon as the gun stops. Depending on the type of trigger system that you have on the gun is going to depend on how quickly or how aggressively you can get to the trigger. If you're running a traditional double action gun, you can start pulling that trigger sooner during the presentation. If you're running a true single action gun with a very light trigger, obviously you're going to have to wait till later in the presentation before you aggressively get onto the trigger. And then again, certain striker fired guns is somewhere in the middle where we're gonna be able to get and start prepping that trigger right in that last 10% of the presentation, if you will. The other issue here is if we just snatch the gun out there as fast as we can, then it becomes very difficult for us to be precise with where the gun goes. So we have to start putting the brakes on just a little bit at the end of the presentation so that we can see what we need to see and then press the trigger. Okay, so let me empty the gun here so we can talk about this dry fire. Empty gun.
Empty.
Empty.
Empty gun. And a little dirty. So I'm going to aim in this direction as if my target's over here. As I move the gun, again, I'm going to kinesthetically feel the alignment of the gun. I can feel where it's pointing. I want to do as much of that as possible. That's going to aid or increase in, how accurate I'm going to be with this, if you will. I want to see the gun coming into alignment visually, the whole gun, helping me align it and get it in alignment with the target. And then as those sights come into alignment, or as that dot drops onto the target, I'm ready to break that shot at the end of the presentation. And in the case of a DA gun, I can start pulling that trigger at the end of the presentation relatively aggressive. If it was a single action gun, I got to kind of wait till the end, and depending on your skill level, you can go ahead and prep that trigger as soon as the sights stop, then you finish the trigger press. So this is the what I call does two things. It's an electronic stress inducer and an electronic lie detector. Okay, it does both of those things. When people say, "Oh, I can do this, I can do that." Okay, let me see, right? And then it tells the truth. The interesting thing about this is this, what I'm getting ready to demonstrate, we figured out after we had these timers. This tells us the truth about time. So when we're presenting the gun, what sometimes feels fast and what looks fast, this ends up telling us is not so fast. And then often what doesn't look that fast ends up being just as fast or faster, because this tells the truth about time. Make sense? So the way this works, if your knives are not clear, it gives us an electronic beep, and then when the gun fires in recoil, it picks up, or when the gun fires and makes the blast, it picks up that sound and gives us a time. And then every shot thereafter, it gives us an additional time. Okay, so we know how long it took us to shoot, how long in between shots, all of that. So there's lots of information to be gained here. So when I do this demonstration, I'm gonna do it twice or 2 different ways. I'm gonna do it probably 3 times each. The first way I'm gonna do it what I would call incorrectly, meaning I'm gonna snatch the gun out there as fast as I can, stop the dot, and then pull the trigger, okay? Then I'm going to switch over and do it what I would call correctly. Now the important thing is what the time tells us and how close those 2 are together. All right, first couple times we'll do this incorrectly, okay? So from the ready position, right where my hands come together in the draw stroke, 1 shot on the target incorrectly. Move the gun quickly, stop the gun, then pull the trigger as 3 separate movements. Okay, 115, because the gun was still moving, I had to wait for it. .92, a little bit better. 108, okay? Now I'm gonna do it again what I would call correctly. I'm gonna move the gun aggressively, but watch, I'm gonna do it to make a point, okay? So here we go. Okay, what was that? Slower or faster? You know the drill. Did it look slower?
Looked slower.
Looked a lot slower, so that was a 97. Let me do it again, okay? Slower yet, right? 95. One more time. .96, okay? So my point when I do this drill is to not to go faster than I went previously. I happened to on this one. What I want to do is show the extreme differences between the 2, okay? So the one I want it to look, I want to show you how slowly I'm actually moving the gun, yet still getting a good time. Clearly we can accelerate this as we go. The issue being, if I snatch the gun out there really, really fast, and I'm not ready to take the shot, doesn't matter, okay? So the point is, this is not what ends up making me fast. It's a factor, but it's not what makes me fast. When I pull the trigger is what makes me fast. So if I don't aim the gun and put it where it needs to be, slow that thing down, find the sights, and then be ready to break the shot, then it doesn't matter. And that's what we're looking to do. Move the gun precisely, see what I need to see, and be ready to break that shot at the end. Let me be clear. I've heard people say, well, Ernest says you just pull the trigger on the way out. When it gets to the end, you break the shot no matter what. That is not what I said. I've never said that, okay? The idea is, as I move the gun, I'm aiming the gun, finding the trigger, and pulling the trigger so that when I clean everything up, I'm ready to shoot. Why is this important? Okay? It's important because you will do 2 of those 3 things if someone's trying to shoot you. You will move the gun and you will pull the trigger. That'll happen, okay? The question is, will you see anything? And if I don't force you to incorporate feeling the alignment of the gun and finding the sights during that presentation, that will be the part that gets left out, okay? You're gonna go fast. The question is, are you gonna hit anything? And if you feel the alignment of gun, you see it come in alignment, you do all of this process, you will get way better at those sights showing up exactly where you want them to be, regardless of how fast you go. When we go to start practicing this, it is critical, if this is not what you currently do in some form or fashion, it is critical that you slow down. Because if you just try to go fast, you're gonna go back to whatever you normally do and the process won't actually happen, okay? You have to, remember we're talking about theory of training. You have to let your conscious mind go, okay, feel the alignment of the gun, see the gun come into alignment, find the trigger, see the sights. You gotta piece all that together. And if you try to go fast, that won't happen.